30 seconds and counting. The guidance system will go in.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us here today at Studio Classroom Worldwide. My name is Steve. Well, we've been traveling to Kuching, also known as the Cat City. It has exotic wildlife, great food, good shopping, and plenty of history to keep the traveler busy. Today we'll find that Kuching and its surrounding area is rich in diverse cultures. Diverse is one of our key words, as is strenuous, but I'll let our teachers explain those words more. But let's look at some example sentences before we go to the reading. For diversity, our example sentence is, you can find a lot of diversity in the plants and animals of a rainforest. The second word is strenuous, as in, after strenuous exercise, I always drink a large glass of water. All right, everyone, please turn in your magazines to page 37. We're on line 10 as we read.
Enchanting Kuching. A short drive from downtown Kuching sits the Sarawak Cultural Village, a living museum that showcases the area's rich cultural diversity. Traditional tribal houses and cultural performances make this a place you won't want to miss. 2 hours away is Gunung Gading National Park, home to the world's largest flower, the Rafflesia, which can grow up to 1 meter in width. Be prepared. My husband and I viewed the famous flower only after a strenuous hike up a mountain, but it was well worth the effort.
Hi friends, I'm Chip.
And I'm Rachel, and we're so glad you joined us for day 2 of our lesson. We've been learning a lot about Kuching, haven't we? This is also known as the Cat City. And I know yesterday we learned that if you really enjoy cats, then you can even visit the Cat Museum and you can learn about everything feline. And again, feline is another word for cats. So we know that there are a lot of museums in this city, aren't there?
That's right. And after the Cat Museum, you can visit this next museum that our article talks about, the Sarawak Cultural Village, a living museum. Tell us a little bit about that, Rachel.
A living museum. This is really interesting. It showcases the area's rich cultural diversity. And I think when you go to this place, it's not your traditional museum where you look at very old things in a glass case. This is a museum that comes alive because people are involved and you can see a lot of cultural performances. So it's not your typical museum at all.
It sounds like it has a lot of, the article says, cultural diversity, so it has a very wide variety of cultural traditions and cultural practices that are practiced there in Kuching.
Exactly, and you just mentioned one of our word bank words, diversity. This is a great word to learn. A lot of times people aim for diversity in a lot of areas because diversity means things are different or varied. If you have a diverse group of people, then you have people from different cultures, from different countries, and it gives you a chance to learn about a lot of different things. So if you have cultural diversity, you're going to learn about cultures different from your own.
That's right. And the next thing our article mentions is traditional tribal houses and cultural performances are also pretty interesting.
Oh, I assume they are. I've seen a few great cultural performances before, or we might call them the tribal performances, and they're always exciting and high energy, and definitely you won't want to miss these. Now, we have a great grammar on the go right now about this particular sentence, so let's watch that and we'll be right back.
Hi friends, how are you doing today? My name is Liz Archer and it's time for Grammar on the Go. I'm here in Kuching, not far from some traditional tribal houses that were just mentioned in today's grammar tip sentence. Let's look at the sentence again. Traditional tribal houses and cultural performances make this a place you won't want to miss. Now, many of you are probably familiar with the phrase to make something plus adjective. For example, let's make this dream possible. Or the hair dye made her hair red. So what about today's sentence? Make this a place you won't want to miss. What is describing a place? Well, that would be you won't want to miss. This is what we would call an adjective clause, and it describes a place. What kind of place? A place you won't want to miss. Actually, you won't want to miss is a very useful clause. You can use it to describe many things. For example, the magician's special performance with alligators makes his show one you won't want to miss. Or, a lot of free gifts are given during the conference, which makes it a meeting you won't want to miss. Want more example sentences? You'll find some more in today's grammar tip in your Studio Classroom magazine. That's it for now. I'm off to explore those traditional tribal houses over at the Sarawak Cultural Village. This is Liz Archer with Grammar on the Go, signing off from Kuching. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Liz, for the Grammar on the Go. We learned yesterday that Kuching has several national parks in the area. One of those is 2 hours away from the city, which is called Gunung Gading National Park, which it has something very unique in it, doesn't it, Rachel?
It sure does, Chip, and very well done at pronouncing that name. It's a bit difficult, isn't it? Well, if you go to this particular national park, you will see the world's largest flower. Now that's pretty interesting. I've seen some big flowers, but not flowers as big as this particular one. And it's called, what is it, Chip?
It's called the Rafflesia, and it grows to be 1 meter in width. That's a pretty large flower. We have some more information about that right now.
Rafflesia. Found only in Southeast Asia, this plant grows on a vine and looks like a head of cabbage before it blooms. It takes 10 months to develop and stays in bloom for only a few days. The most interesting characteristic of this plant is that it smells like a dead, rotting animal. Our guide was able to lead us to a Rafflesia after he smelled it 30 meters away.
Wow, what a unique flower. The thing that really gets me is that it smells like a dead, rotting animal. You'd think that a flower that big and beautiful would smell wonderfully, but it actually doesn't. So if you go all the way to Kuching, make sure you take a trip to see this flower. But it's not an easy trip, is it?
Well, not necessarily. It sounds like it took our author over an hour to get there with her husband. She took a very strenuous hike to get there.
She sure did, and she warns us. She says, be prepared. You need to be prepared. Don't wear your high heels. Make sure you have some good tennis shoes on because you need to go hiking. She tells us that she and her husband viewed the famous flower only after a strenuous hike up a mountain. Now, Chip, I know you like to hike.
I do.
Maybe you can tell us first what strenuous means and if you've ever been on a strenuous hike.
Well, I've certainly been on strenuous hikes, and usually the most strenuous hikes are uphill, where you're climbing maybe a very steep mountain. And sometimes a strenuous hike involves using even your hands and your feet to climb up the mountain.
So it requires a lot of energy and effort, right? And things can be strenuous. You can have maybe a strenuous task you need to do at work. But we often think of very physical activities. Things like hiking or sports activities can really be strenuous. Well, they took a strenuous hike up the mountain. But it was worth it because at the top they were able to view the very famous flower.
Well, I'm glad it was well worth the effort. I think that I would not mind walking a strenuous hike for over an hour to see the world's largest flower that smells like a rotting animal. I think that would be worth the effort also. We're going to take a break now and watch something very interesting.
A visit to the Sarawak Cultural Village nearby is a thrilling affair for most. This living museum is what makes it a worthwhile trip as it offers a glimpse of the multi-ethnic groups living in this enchanting land. Here is where you will discover and learn of Sarawak's cultural diversity. From traditional Iban longhouses to handicrafts and on to enjoy cultural performances comprising songs, dances and entertainment that evoke the spirits. Uncover your hidden talent as you try out the traditional musical instruments and dances or watch skilled Iban women weave the puakumbu, a traditional Iban textile. As you walk along the longhouse of the Orang Ulu, take a closer look at the different architecture, as this tribe is famous for its stilted longhouses. Dance along to the lilting music of the traditional musical instruments as it embraces you into a magical cultural paradise. The colorful beaded costumes of the dancers and the intricately drawn murals of the Orang Ulu add further flavor to the festivities.